The storm came without warning that night. Marcus Chun stood at his kitchen window and watched the lightning split the Montana sky into pieces. Rain hammered against the glass so hard he thought it might break. He was 62 years old, lived alone, and had seen many storms in his life. But something about this one felt different. The air itself seemed to hum with a strange energy that made the hair on his arms stand up. He was about to turn away and go to bed when he heard it. A sound from the barn. Not the normal sounds of wind against wood or rain on the metal roof. This was something else. Something alive. Marcus grabbed his flashlight and his old hunting jacket. He had been a veterinarian for 30 years before he retired. Before that, he had been a field medic in the army. He knew the sounds that hurt animals made. And whatever was in his barn was hurting. The rain soaked him in seconds as he ran across the yard. The barn door was open just a crack, swinging in the wind. He had closed it that evening. He was certain of it thawed. He pushed the door open and stepped inside. The smell of hay and old wood filled his nose. He swept his flashlight across the space, past the old tractor, past the stacked hay bales, past the tools hanging on the wall. The light caught something moving in the corner. Marcus froze. His heart beat fast in his chest. The thing in the corner pressed itself against the wall and made a sound like a wounded animal. A high, keening cry that was filled with fear. He moved closer, slowly, the way he used to approach injured dogs that might bite. The flashlight beam fell upon what he first thought was a child. A small figure, maybe the size of a 10-year-old, curled up behind the hay bales. Pale skin, thin arms wrapped around thin legs. Trembling so hard, he could see it from 10 feet away. "Hey there," Marcus said softly. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." The figure lifted its head, and Marcus felt his blood turn to ice, thought it was not a human child. The face was close to human, but not quite right. The skin had a faint glow to it, like moonlight trapped under glass. The eyes were too large, taking up too much of the face, and the pupils were horizontal like a goat's. The nose was almost flat, just two small slits. And when the creature opened its mouth to make another frightened sound, Marcus saw that its teeth were sharp and pointed. He should have run. Any sane person would have run. But then he saw the blood. Dark liquid, almost purple in color, ran down the creature's back. Deep gashes, 3 of them, cut across its shoulders and spine. The wounds were fresh and terrible. Whatever had done this had meant to kill. Marcus was a healer. It was the core of who he was. He had spent his whole life fixing broken things. And right now, there was a broken thing in front of him that needed help. "Okay," he said, keeping his voice calm and steady. "Okay, you're hurt. I can see that. Will you let me help you?" The creature stared at him with those 2 large eyes. It did not attack. It did not run. It just watched him, shaking, waiting to see what he would do. Slowly, Marcus set down the flashlight and held up his empty hands. "See? Nothing that can hurt you. I'm going to come closer now. I'm going to look at those cuts. Is that okay?" He did not expect an answer. He was not even sure the thing could understand him. But something in those strange eyes shifted. The fear was still there, but now there was something else too. Hope maybe. Or just exhaustion so deep that it had no energy left to run. Marcus moved to its side and looked at the wounds. They were bad, but clean. Whatever had made them was sharp. He had medical supplies in the house. He could treat this. "I need to take you inside," he said. "Can you walk?" The creature tried to stand and immediately fell. Marcus caught it without thinking. Its skin was cool to the touch, not cold, but cooler than human skin. It weighed almost nothing. He lifted it easily and carried it toward the house. Inside, he laid the creature on his kitchen table and went to get his supplies. When he came back, it was watching him with those huge eyes, tracking his every movement. He cleaned the wounds as gently as he could. The creature made small sounds of pain but did not fight him. When he applied the bandages, he noticed something strange. The edges of the wounds were already starting to close. Whatever this being was, it healed fast. He gave it water. It drank desperately, like it had not had anything to drink in days. He offered it bread, and it ate that too. Then some leftover chicken, then an apple. It ate everything he put in front of it. When its stomach was full and its wounds were wrapped, the creature looked at him for a long moment. Then it raised one hand, a hand with only 4 fingers, and pointed to itself. A sound came from its mouth. It took Marcus a moment to understand that it was trying to speak. "Veli," the creature said. Its voice was strange, like wind through hollow tubes, but the word was clear. "Veli, Veli," Marcus repeated. "Is that your name?" The creature Veli made a motion with its head that looked like a nod. "I'm Marcus," he said, pointing to himself. "Marcus." Veli repeated his name, struggling with the sounds, but getting close enough. Then Veli lifted its arm. There was a device on its wrist, something that looked like metal and light woven together. Veli touched it, and suddenly a picture appeared in the air above it. A hologram, Marcus realized. Like something from a science fiction movie. The image showed another being of Veli species. But this one was tall, maybe 7 feet, covered in dark armor. Its face was hard and cold, with scars running across one cheek. Its eyes held no warmth at all. Only purpose. Only hunger. Veli looked at the image, then at Marcus. Then Veli raised one small hand and drew it slowly across its own throat. The message was clear. That thing in the picture wanted Veli dead. Marcus looked at this small, wounded creature sitting on his kitchen table. He looked at the image of the monster that was hunting it. He thought about what a sane person would do. A sane person would call someone. The government. The military. Anyone. But who would believe him? And what would they do to Veli if they came? "All right," Marcus said quietly. "All right. You can stay here. I'll keep you safe." He had no idea how he was going to do that. He had no idea what he was dealing with. But he knew one thing for certain. He was not going to let anything hurt this child again. Outside, the storm raged on. But somewhere beyond the clouds, beyond the rain, something else was coming. Something was hunting, and it would not stop until it found what it was looking for. 1 week passed. Then 2. Marcus Chun's life changed in ways he never could have imagined. Veli healed faster than any creature Marcus had ever treated. Within 3 days, the terrible wounds on her back had closed completely. Within a week, there were only faint silver lines where the gashes had been. Marcus had worked with animals his whole life. He had never seen anything like it, but the healing of her body was nothing compared to the speed of her mind. On the first day, Veli knew perhaps 10 words of English. By the end of the first week, she could speak in simple sentences. By the end of the second week, she was holding conversations. Her brain, Marcus realized, was built differently than a human brain. It absorbed language like a sponge absorbed water. "My people," Veli explained one evening, sitting at the kitchen table while Marcus made dinner. "We are the Valkyrie. We are warriors. We conquer worlds. Many, many worlds." Marcus set down the pot he was holding. "How many worlds?" Veli thought about it. "I do not know the number in your language. Many more than your fingers and toes. Many more than the stars you can see in your sky." A chill ran down Marcus's spine. He had suspected that Veli came from somewhere far away. But to hear it confirmed, to know that there was an empire of warriors out there among the stars, made it real in a way that frightened him. "And that thing in the picture," he said carefully. "The one who hurt you. Who is she?" Veli's face changed. The openness that had been growing there over the past 2 weeks closed up like a door slamming shut. Teska, Veli said. The name sounded like a curse in her mouth. She is my mother. Marcus stared at her. Your mother did that to you? Veli nodded. In my people's way, it is correct. It is the law. I was born wrong. I am small. I am weak. I cannot fight like a true Vilefree. My mother is a great commander, a leader of ships. If she does not kill me herself, she loses everything. Her rank, her honor, her place among our people. Marcus felt sick. He had seen cruelty in his life. He had seen what humans could do to each other in war. But this was something else. This was cruelty built into the very bones of a society. That's not law, he said quietly. That's murder. Veli looked at him with confusion in her large eyes. I do not understand. It is our way. It has always been our way. The weak are removed so the strong can grow stronger. This is how the Vilefree became great. Marcus sat down across from her. He thought about how to explain something that seemed so obvious to him but was completely foreign to her. Where I come from, he said slowly, we believe the opposite. We believe that the strong should protect the weak. That's what makes us truly strong. Not killing those who can't fight back, but defending them. Veli stared at him like he had grown a second head. But that makes no sense. If you protect the weak, they stay weak. They slow you down. They make the whole group weaker. Maybe, Marcus said. Or maybe they grow up to be something you never expected. Maybe they become scientists who cure diseases. Or artists who make beautiful things. Or teachers who help others learn. Or maybe they just become good people who make the world a little kinder. You don't know what someone can become until you give them the chance to become it. Veli was quiet for a long time. Marcus could see her turning the idea over in her mind, examining it from all sides like a strange object she had never seen before. Your people, she said finally. They are weak by Vilefree standards. Your bodies are soft. You have no claws, no armor, no natural weapons. Your lives are very short. How have you not been conquered by stronger species? Marcus smiled. No one's found us yet. We're pretty far out on the edge of things, I think. And maybe we're not as weak as we look. The days continued to pass. Marcus taught Veli about Earth. He showed her books and movies and music. She was fascinated by all of it, but especially by stories about humans helping each other. Stories about sacrifice and kindness and love. These concepts seemed to shake something loose inside her, something that had been locked away for her whole life. This love you speak of, she said one day while they were walking around his property. Marcus had started teaching her about the land, showing her the trees and animals and streams. My people do not have this word. We have words for duty, for honor, for victory, but not for this. Maybe you have the feeling, Marcus said, even if you don't have the word. Veli thought about this. She looked at Marcus with an expression he could not quite read. When I am with you, she said slowly, I feel something I have never felt before. Safe. Is that love? Marcus felt his heart squeeze tight in his chest. That's part of it, he said. A big part. But even as they talked and learned and grew closer, Marcus never forgot the danger. He spent his evenings preparing. He set up motion sensors around his property. He mapped out escape routes through the forest. He reinforced the cellar beneath his house, adding insulation to the walls and a Faraday cage around the whole thing to block electronic signals. What are you doing? Veli asked when she saw him working. Getting ready, Marcus said. Your mother is still out there, and she won't stop looking for you. Veli's expression darkened. She will never stop. It is not in her nature. She has tracked enemies across star systems, that would take your ships 1,000 years to cross. She has killed targets on worlds where no one thought she could reach. She's the greatest hunter of the Veilfree, and I am her shame, her failure. She will not rest until I am dead." Marcus finished hammering in another board. "Then we'd better make sure we're ready for her." That night, strange lights appeared in the sky. Marcus watched them through his window. They moved in patterns that no airplane or helicopter could match. They stopped, started, changed direction instantly. Then they disappeared beyond the mountains to the east. In the morning, he heard on his radio that 3 cattle had been found dead on a ranch 20 miles away. The bodies were burned in strange patterns, and all of their blood had been drained. Marcus looked at Veli. She looked back at him. Neither of them said anything. They both knew what it meant. The Veilfree were here. That night, Marcus barely slept. He sat in a chair by the window with his hunting rifle across his lap, watching the darkness. Veli sat beside him, wide awake, her body tense with fear. Just before dawn, a shadow passed over the house. It moved slowly, deliberately, blocking out the stars as it crossed the sky. It was enormous, bigger than any aircraft Marcus had ever seen. And it was shaped like nothing that had ever been built on Earth. Veli grabbed his arm. Her fingers dug into his flesh hard enough to bruise. "She's here," Veli whispered. "My mother is here?" Marcus watched the shadow disappear behind the tree line. In the distance, he heard a sound like thunder, but lower and longer. The sound of something very large touching down on Earth. He looked at the small alien girl beside him. She was shaking, but she was not crying. She had probably never learned how to cry. Her whole life, tears would have been seen as weakness. He put his arm around her shoulders. "It's okay," he said. "I promised I'd keep you safe." And I meant it. He had no idea if he could keep that promise. But he was going to try, even if it killed him, because some things were worth dying for. Marcus watched through his binoculars as the aliens came out of the forest. There were 6 of them, plus one more who walked in front. They moved through the trees with a grace that made his stomach turn. They were hunters, predators. Everything about them screamed danger. Each one stood at least 7 feet tall. Their bodies were covered in dark armor that seemed to drink in the morning light. They carried weapons that Marcus could not even begin to understand. But it was the one in front that made his blood run cold. The SSK. He recognized her from the hologram Veli had shown him. But the image had not done her justice. In person, she was terrifying. She moved like a panther, smooth and powerful, every step perfectly controlled. Scars covered the visible parts of her face and neck, each one a story of violence and survival. Her eyes scanned the forest around her with a cold intelligence that missed nothing. Marcus lowered his binoculars and moved away from the window. Veli was already hiding in the cellar. He had put her there an hour ago, when the motion sensors first started going off. "Stay quiet," he had told her. "Stay hidden. No matter what you hear, no matter what happens, don't come out until I tell you it's safe." Veli had looked at him with those huge eyes. For a moment, she looked like she wanted to say something. But in the end, she just nodded and disappeared. Beneath the false floor, Marcus had covered the entrance with a rug and moved a heavy bookshelf over it. The cellar was insulated and wrapped in wire mesh. No heat signature. No electronic signals. As close to invisible as he could make it. Now he waited. It took them 3 hours to reach his property. He watched their progress through his cameras, small devices hidden in trees and fence posts. They searched methodically, using handheld devices that glowed with strange light, scanning, hunting. When they finally emerged from the trees and walked toward his house, Marcus was sitting on his porch. He had a cup of coffee in his hand and his rifle leaning against the wall beside him. Just a man enjoying the morning. Nothing to hide. Nothing to fear. Theska stopped 20 feet away. Her soldiers spread out behind her in a line. One of them held a device that made a soft humming sound. For a long moment, no one spoke. Theska studied Marcus with eyes that seemed to look right through him. She was reading him, he realized. Learning him. Deciding if he was a threat. Then she spoke. Her voice came out as a series of clicks and whistles, alien and strange. But a moment later, the sounds repeated in English from a small device at her throat. "Human," she said. The translation was flat and mechanical, but her tone carried through. Contempt. Boredom. The way someone might address an insect. "I am searching for a criminal. A fugitive. It may have passed through this area. Have you seen anything unusual?" Marcus took a sip of his coffee. His hand did not shake. He was too old and too tired to let fear control him. "Unusual, how?" he asked. "We get bears around here sometimes. Cougars, too. Saw a moose last winter. That was pretty unusual." One of the soldiers made a sound that might have been a growl. Theska held up a hand, and the soldier fell silent. "The fugitive I seek is Valathri," Theska said. "Like myself, but smaller, younger. It would appear strange to you. Frightening, perhaps." "Can't say I've seen anything like that," Marcus said. "Pretty quiet around here, mostly. Just me and the trees." Theska's eyes narrowed. The scanner in the soldier's hand hummed louder. "Your heart rate is elevated," Theska said. "Your skin temperature has increased. These are signs of deception in many species. Are you lying to me, human?" Marcus shrugged. "I'm a 62-year-old man with a bunch of alien soldiers standing on my lawn. You're surprised my heart rate's up?" "I'm surprised I haven't had a heart attack." Something flickered across Theska's face. It might have been amusement. It was hard to tell. "You are not afraid," she observed. "Not as much as you should be. Why?" "I was a soldier once," Marcus said. "Long time ago. I've seen scary things before. I've learned that being afraid doesn't help much." Theska tilted her head slightly. For a moment, she looked at him differently. Not with respect, exactly, but with something close to interest. "Let me tell you something, human," she said. "The fugitive I seek is my offspring. My child, in your language. Among my people, it is the mother's duty to cull the weak. To remove defective bloodlines before they can spread. My child was born wrong. Too small. Too weak. Unable to fight. Unable to hunt. Unable to serve. If I do not kill it myself, I lose everything I have built. My rank, my command, my honor, everything." Marcus felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his face calm. "That's a tough situation," he said evenly. "Must be hard, having to kill your own kid." Theska's expression did not change. "It is not hard. It is duty. Duty is never hard. It simply is." She stepped closer. Marcus could smell her now, a strange scent like metal and something burned. Up close, she was even more frightening. Her eyes were not cruel, he realized. They were empty. Whatever part of her might have been capable of love or mercy had been cut out long ago. "If you are hiding my offspring," Theska said, "I will find out. I will burn your dwelling to ash. I will salt the ground where it stood. And I will make your death last for a very long time. Do you understand?" Marcus met her gaze without flinching. "I understand. But I'm not hiding anything. I'm just a man who lives alone in the woods. I'm nobody." Theska stared at him for a long moment. Then she turned away. "Search the structures," she ordered her soldiers. "Scan everything." The soldiers moved toward the house. Marcus stayed on the porch, sipping his coffee, watching them work. They tore through his home with brutal efficiency. They broke open cabinets and ripped apart closets and overturned furniture. The scanner hummed and buzzed as it swept through every room. Marcus's heart pounded in his chest. The cellar entrance was hidden. The Faraday cage would block signals. But if they moved the bookshelf, if they looked closely at the floor, if they found the seams of the hidden door, after an hour, the soldiers returned to Thesca. One of them reported something in their clicking language. The scanner operator shook its head. Thesca looked back at Marcus. Her eyes were suspicious, but her soldiers had found nothing. "We will continue our search elsewhere," she said. "But we will leave a watcher. If the fugitive comes here, if you see anything, you will signal immediately. Do you understand?" Marcus nodded. "I understand." Thesca turned and walked toward the forest. 5 of her soldiers followed. The 6th stayed behind, taking up a position at the edge of the tree line, watching the house with unblinking eyes. Marcus sat on his porch and finished his coffee. When it was empty, he went inside and started cleaning up the mess the soldiers had left. Veli was still in the cellar, still hidden, still safe, for now. But Marcus knew this was not over. Thesca was not the kind to give up. She would search the area. She would question the neighbors. And eventually, she would come back. He had maybe 24 hours. Maybe less. Marcus looked at the soldier watching his house from the trees. Then he went to his desk and started making phone calls. He had friends from his army days. Men and women who owed him favors. People who knew how to fight against impossible odds. He was going to need all the help he could get. The plan was simple. Simple plans were the only kind that worked when you were outmatched in every way. Marcus called 3 old friends. Tom, who lived on a ranch 30 miles east. Sarah, who worked at the county fire station. Bill, who had served with Marcus in Afghanistan and now ran a hunting supply store in town. He told them a story about a domestic abuse situation. A woman fleeing a violent family who wanted to kill her. Not far from the truth. They all thought he had lost his mind. But they all agreed to help. That night, while the Veltri sentry watched his house, Marcus crept out through a drainage tunnel he had dug years ago for exactly this purpose. He moved slowly, carefully, staying low in the tall grass. The sentry had better eyes than any human, but it was overconfident. It was watching the doors and windows, not the ground 20 feet away. Marcus made it to the tree line without being seen. He spent 2 hours circling around through the forest. He knew this land better than anyone. Every rock, every stream, every hollow tree. He had walked these woods for 40 years. They were his territory, his home ground. He found a position 200 yards from the sentry. Far enough that the alien's armor might not stop a bullet. Close enough that he would not miss. Marcus was a good shot. He had always been a good shot. But as he raised his rifle and looked through the scope at the alien soldier, he felt the weight of what he was about to do. This was not a deer or a rabbit. This was a thinking being. It had a life, maybe a family of its own. And he was about to end that life. But then he thought of Veli, thought of the scars on her back, thought of a mother who wanted to murder her own child for the crime of being born different. He thought of all the worlds the Valkyrie had conquered, all the lives they had ended, all the children they had killed because they were not strong enough. He pulled the trigger. The rifle cracked in the darkness. The sentry fell. It did not get up. Marcus moved quickly after that. He knew the shot would trigger an alert on the dead soldier's equipment. He had maybe 20 minutes before Thesca and her team came running back. He returned to the house through the tunnel. Veli was already awake, sitting in the darkness of the cellar. "I heard the sound," she said. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. "We're leaving," Marcus said. "Right now. There's no more time." He gave her the dead sentry's communicator, the one he had taken from the body. Then he gave her a piece of paper with a map and instructions. Tom's ranch is 30 miles east. Follow the creek. Stay in the water to hide your trail. When you get there, use this communicator to call for help. There's a frequency in there that your people's enemies use. A group called the Consortium. They've been fighting the Velfry for a long time. Tell them who you are. Tell them what you know about your mother's fleet. They'll come for you. Veli stared at him. You are not coming with me? Marcus shook his head. Someone has to stay here and slow them down. Buy you time to get away, but they will kill you. Probably. Marcus managed to smile. But that's okay. I'm an old man. I've had a good life. And this is something worth dying for. Veli's eyes filled with something Marcus had never seen in them before. Tears. Actual tears rolling down her pale face. You would die for me, she whispered. You barely know me. Why would you do this? Marcus knelt down, so he was at her level. He put his hands on her small shoulders and looked into her strange, beautiful eyes. Because that's what humans do, he said. We protect the people we love, even when it costs us everything, even when it doesn't make sense. That's what makes us who we are. Veli threw her arms around him and held on tight. For a long moment, they stayed like that in the darkness. Then Marcus pulled away gently. Go, he said. Run. Don't stop. Don't look back. Veli ran. Marcus watched her disappear into the night. Then he went back to his house and started preparing his last stand. He did not have to wait long. Theska came with the force of a storm. She tore the front door off its hinges with a single blow and strode into his home with murder in her eyes. Where is it? She roared. Her translator could not capture the full fury in her voice. Where's my offspring? Marcus stood in the middle of his living room, his rifle in his hands. He knew it would not do much against her armor, but it was something. Gone, he said. Far from here. You'll never find her. Theska crossed the room in 2 steps and grabbed him by the throat. She lifted him off the ground like he weighed nothing. Her grip was like iron, crushing his windpipe. You killed my soldier, she hissed. You helped the defective one escape. You will tell me where it went, or I will take you apart piece by piece. Marcus could not breathe. His vision was going dark, but he managed to smile. No, he choked out. I don't think I will. Theska threw him across the room. He hit the wall hard and felt something crack in his ribs. Pain exploded through his body, but he was not done yet. As Theska came toward him, Marcus grabbed a lamp beside him and smashed it into her face. It did not hurt her, but it made her flinch. He used that moment to roll away and grab the canister he had hidden behind the couch. Fire erupted from the can, a stream of burning liquid that he sprayed across Theska's body. Her armor protected her, but the heat made her stumble back. Just for a second, Marcus ran. He knew the house better than she did. Every door, every corner, every hiding spot. He led her on a chase through the rooms, using traps he had set up over the past week. Tripwires, smoke bombs, jars of pepper spray rigged to explode. None of it could stop her, but it slowed her down. In the kitchen, she caught him again. She slammed him against the refrigerator so hard the metal dented. Blood poured from a cut on his head. Why do you fight? Theska demanded. She seemed genuinely confused. You cannot win. You are weak. You are nothing. Why do you not simply accept your death? Marcus spat blood onto the floor. Every part of his body screamed with pain. But he looked up at her with defiance burning in his eyes. Because that's not how humans work, he said. We don't give up. We don't surrender. We fight for the people we love until our last breath. Your daughter was right to run from you. She learned something from us that you'll never understand. Theska's grip tightened. And what is that? Marcus smiled through bloody teeth. Mercy. For a moment, Theska was silent. Then she raised her blade. It was long and curved and sharp enough to cut through stone. A weakness, she said. Nothing more. She prepared to strike, and then the sky exploded with light. Theska looked up. Through the broken ceiling of the house, she could see them. Ships, dozens of ships. But they were not veil-free. Their designs were different, their colors wrong. The consortium Veli had reached Tom's ranch. She had used the communicator, and help had come. Marcus started to laugh. It hurt his broken ribs, but he could not stop. The look on Theska's face was worth every bit of pain. "Looks like you've got bigger problems now," he said. Theska stared at the sky. For the first time since he had met her, she looked uncertain. The hunt had just gotten a lot more complicated. The consortium ships descended from the sky like angels of judgment. There were at least 20 of them, ranging from small fighters to a massive command vessel that blocked out the stars. They moved with precision and purpose, surrounding the area where Theska's small craft had landed. Marcus watched it all from the floor of his ruined kitchen, too broken to move, too stubborn to die. Theska still stood over him, but her attention was on the sky. Her blade hung forgotten at her side. A voice boomed from the command ship, translated into 100 languages at once. Marcus could understand the English version clearly. Veil-3 Commander Theska, you are surrounded and outnumbered. Your weapons are disabled. Your ship is grounded. Surrender yourself and your soldiers, or you will be destroyed. Theska did not respond. Her soldiers were gathering around her, forming a defensive circle. But Marcus could see the truth in their body language. They knew they were beaten. "Commander," one of the soldiers said, speaking in English so the consortium could hear, "we cannot fight this many. If we surrender, we may be exchanged in a prisoner trade. If we fight, we die here, on this unknown world, for nothing." Theska was silent for a long moment. Marcus watched her face, looking for any crack in that cold mask. But she gave nothing away. Then the consortium ship opened, and a group of beings descended on a platform of light. They were different species, all of them. Some looked almost human. Others were completely alien. But standing in the middle of them was a small figure that Marcus recognized immediately. She had made it. She had called for help. And now she was coming back, standing tall among the very enemies of her people. Theska saw her too. Something changed in her expression. It was subtle, but it was there. Surprise, and something else that Marcus could not name. The platform touched down 50 feet from the house. Veli stepped forward. She was still small, still fragile by Veil-3 standards. But she did not look weak. She looked strong in a way that had nothing to do with the size of her body or the sharpness of her claws. "Mother," Veli said. Her voice was clear and steady. "This is over." Theska stared at her offspring. For the first time, Marcus saw emotion on that scarred face. It looked almost like pain. "You brought the enemies of our people here," Theska said. "You have betrayed everything we are. Everything I raised you to be." "You raised me to be dead," Veli replied. "You raised me to believe that my life was worth nothing because I was born different. But I am not worthless. The humans showed me that." Theska looked down at Marcus. He met her gaze without fear. He had no fear left in him. He had given everything he had, and he was at peace with that. "This creature?" Theska said. "This weak, fragile, short-lived animal? What could it possibly have taught you?" Veli walked closer. She stood between her mother and Marcus, her small body shielding him from the towering warrior. "It taught me what real strength is," Veli said. "Not the strength to kill. The strength to protect. The strength to sacrifice yourself for someone who needs you. The strength to love someone even when it costs you everything." She looked back at Marcus, and her eyes were soft with gratitude. It taught me that mercy is not weakness. Mercy is the greatest power in the universe. Because anyone can destroy, but only the truly strong can choose not to. Theska was silent. Her soldiers watched, uncertain. The consortium forces waited, weapons ready. You have a choice, Mother, Veli said. You can kill Marcus and try to kill me. You will die here, on this world, accomplishing nothing. Your name will be forgotten. Your legacy will be failure. Or you can walk away. Leave us. Return to your people and tell them that your offspring died in the hunt. No one needs to know the truth. Marcus held his breath. Everything depended on this moment. On what Theska chose to do. Theska looked at her daughter. Really looked at her. Maybe for the first time. She saw the strength in those young eyes. The certainty. The peace. This was not the weak, defective child she had tried to kill. This was someone new. Someone shaped by forces Theska did not understand. Slowly, Theska sheathed her blade. Commander? One of her soldiers said, confused. Stand down, Theska ordered. Her voice was flat, empty. We are leaving. The soldiers hesitated, then obeyed. They moved toward their ship, weapons lowered. The consortium forces parted to let them pass, watching carefully but not attacking. Theska walked toward her ship. But at the edge of the clearing, she stopped. She turned and looked back. Not at Veli. At Marcus. He lay on the ground, broken and bleeding, surrounded by the wreckage of his home. He had fought an impossible battle against an enemy who outmatched him in every way. He had lost. But he had won too. Theska said nothing. But something passed between them. A moment of recognition. Of understanding. Then she turned and walked away. The Valkyrie ship rose into the sky and disappeared among the stars. The consortium forces relaxed, their weapons powering down. One of their medics rushed toward Marcus and began treating his wounds. Veli knelt beside him. Tears were flowing freely down her face now, a human expression she had learned just for him. You are alive, she whispered. I was so afraid I would be too late. Marcus managed a weak smile. Takes more than that to kill me. I'm too stubborn to die. The consortium commander, a tall being with blue skin and 4 arms, approached them. The human showed great courage, it said. He stood against one of the most dangerous warriors in the galaxy and survived. His actions have given us something we have wanted for generations. A defector. A source of information about the Valkyrie. He has done the consortium a great service. Marcus shook his head. I didn't do it for you. I did it for her. The commander nodded slowly. Even so, we would like to offer you a place among us. Your people have proven themselves. When the time is right, we will make contact with your governments. Earth will have allies in the galaxy. But that is for the future. For now, will you come with us? Marcus looked at Veli. He looked at the stars above. He thought about all the wonders that were out there, waiting to be discovered. Then he looked at his land. His mountains. His trees. No, he said. This is my home. One belong here. The commander seemed to understand. As you wish. But know that you will always have friends among the stars. If you ever need us, we will come. 3 months later, Marcus sat on the porch of his rebuilt house. It had taken time and help from friends, but the place was whole again. Better than before, in some ways. Beside him sat Veli. She had chosen to stay on Earth, at least for now. The consortium had given her a device that let her look human when she went into town. But here, on Marcus's land, she could be herself. She was reading a book. A history of Earth. She had read dozens of them now. She was fascinated by the story of humanity. All its wars and mistakes, yes, but also all its moments of courage and kindness and hope. Marcus, she said, looking up from the pages. I have a question. What is it? Humans are so small, so fragile. You live such short lives, and yet you fight so hard for each other. You give everything for the people you love. Why? Marcus watched the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and red. He thought about the question. He had been thinking about it his whole life in one way or another. Because someone taught us a long time ago, he said finally, that the measure of strength isn't who you can defeat. It's who you choose to protect. Veli smiled. It was a human expression. She had learned it from him. I think I understand, she said. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the stars come out one by one. Somewhere out there, among those distant lights, Theska was returning to her people. She would tell them that her offspring had died in the hunt. She would never speak of what had really happened. But Marcus knew the truth. In her private chamber, Theska sat alone. In her hand was a small device, projecting a hologram. The image of Veli as an infant, before she was marked for death. Before everything went wrong, protocol demanded that she delete it. Sentiment was weakness. Attachment was failure. Theska stared at the image for a long time. She did not delete it. Something had changed in her that night on Earth. Something small. Something she did not understand. But it was there, growing in the dark corners of her heart. A seed planted by a weak, fragile, short-lived creature who had been willing to die for someone else's child. Mercy. Maybe it was a weakness. But maybe, just maybe, it was something else. Only time would tell. And in the vast darkness of the galaxy, time was the one thing that never ran out.